Jalen was never one to stay quiet, even when it was dangerous to speak. On the vast training grounds of Zyphra, a planet famous across the galaxy for its elite interstellar academies, he strutted with a mix of confidence and recklessness. The academy itself was an awe-inspiring place, suspended high above the rocky surface on enormous anti-gravity platforms, each buzzing with energy fields that kept the massive structures afloat. Alien creatures of all shapes and sizes moved about, many taller, stronger, or more intimidating than Jalen had ever imagined. Yet, he held his head high, convinced that humans his kind were just as capable as any of them, if not more. It was in the main training hall, a cavernous space filled with rows of holographic projectors and combat simulators, that Jalen made his most audacious claim. He had been bragging to anyone who would listen, voice echoing off the metallic walls, that his grandfather had once trained the Emperor's elite guards. "That's impossible," one of the alien trainees hissed. It was a four-armed creature, with bright violet skin and eyes like molten silver. "Humans don't have that kind of skill. Your stories are lies." Jalen laughed, a short, sharp sound, his brown eyes gleaming with defiance. "I'm not lying. My grandfather taught the best. The Emperor's men trained by him." His voice rose with each word, attracting the attention of the alien trainer, Vorkan. Vorkan was the kind of creature who could make the air itself feel tense. Standing nearly 3 meters tall, with 6 muscular limbs and skin that shimmered like bronze under the hall's lights, he carried the aura of absolute authority. Known for his brutal honesty and intolerance for arrogance, he walked toward Jalen with a measured, deliberate pace. Each step made the floor vibrate slightly, a reminder to everyone present of his power. "Boy," Vorkan said in a voice that rumbled like distant thunder, "what makes you think your grandfather's tales concern me?" Jalen's chest puffed out. "Because it's the truth. My grandfather trained the Emperor's finest. And I..." Before he could finish, Vorkan's massive hand struck the side of Jalen's face. It wasn't a strike meant to harm, but to teach. And it sent a sharp, burning sting that made Jalen stagger. The hall went silent. Alien trainees whispered among themselves, a mixture of shock and amusement in their tones. The sound of the impact echoed faintly against the metallic walls. "Silence, boy," Vorkan said, his 6 eyes piercing into Jalen's. "You speak with arrogance, but you have not proven anything. If you wish to claim greatness, you must earn it." Jalen's hand rose to his cheek, rubbing away the sting. He blinked, but his gaze did not waver. The humiliation burned, yet beneath it was a spark of defiance, a determination he had inherited from his grandfather. He was not going to let a being, no matter how terrifying, dismiss his heritage. That night, when the training hall was empty, Jalen slipped past security drones and made his way to the Academy archives. The archives were enormous, a maze of shelves that floated in zero-gravity chambers, each holding holoreels and manuscripts from countless generations. Jalen moved carefully, his fingers brushing over the spines of ancient books and metallic containers holding data crystals. He felt a thrill of excitement as he began scanning the records, searching for any proof that his grandfather's legacy was real. Hours passed. Shadows lengthened, stretching unnaturally across the holographic floors. Jalen's fingers danced over the controls, bringing up old training logs, battle simulations, and historical records. His heart leapt when he found a holoreel labeled with his grandfather's name. Hands trembling, he activated it. The projection flickered to life, showing a younger version of his grandfather, standing before a group of the Emperor's elite warriors. Every movement was precise, every command executed flawlessly. The recording was undeniable proof. His grandfather had truly been one of the greatest trainers in the galaxy. A sudden shadow fell over him. Jalen turned to see Vorkan standing silently at the edge of the chamber. His multiple limbs crossed, 6 eyes observing him with a mix of suspicion and curiosity. "You were searching for proof," Vorkan said, his voice calm but edged with authority. "And you have found it. Yet finding proof is not the same as earning respect. Your grandfather's skill does not transfer to you automatically. You must earn it yourself." Jalen swallowed hard, feeling both fear and exhilaration. "I know," he said. "I want to earn it. I will prove that humans are not weak, that we can match, even surpass, any alien warrior." Vorkan's eyes narrowed slightly. For the first time, he seemed intrigued rather than annoyed. "Very well," he said. "You will undergo the trials. Fail, and you will leave this academy. Succeed, and you may earn a place among those who serve the Emperor. But remember, boy, strength alone is not enough. Skill, strategy, and ingenuity are what matter." The next day, Jalen reported to the training grounds with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. The academy had prepared a new obstacle course, designed to test speed, agility, and tactical thinking. Alien trainees with 4, 6, even 8 limbs moved effortlessly through the challenges, leaping over energy barriers, dodging laser traps, and performing maneuvers that seemed impossible to a human. Jalen's heart pounded in his chest as he studied the course. He was smaller, weaker, and less experienced than most of the aliens. But he had something they didn't: the spark of human creativity. When it was his turn, he stepped onto the starting platform, gripping the control panel of a standard hovercraft used in the course. Vorkan observed silently, his eyes trained on Jalen's every move. The course began with a sudden surge of energy barriers and spinning mechanical arms. The alien trainees navigated them with grace, but Jalen hesitated, thinking. Then, remembering techniques his grandfather had taught him, adapted for humans, he made a sudden, unexpected move. He tilted the hovercraft at a sharp angle, sliding under a spinning arm instead of leaping over it. The maneuver was unorthodox but effective. A few aliens turned their heads, surprised by the human's ingenuity. Vorkan's eyes narrowed, a faint hint of approval appearing in his expression. Jalen's confidence grew. Each obstacle he encountered, he approached not with brute strength but with quick thinking, improvising at every step. When one section of the course malfunctioned, he rigged the hovercraft to stabilize mid-air, landing smoothly while many alien trainees faltered. By the time he reached the final section, a complex array of shifting platforms and laser grids, the hall was buzzing with murmurs. Even some of the trainers whispered among themselves. Jalen took a deep breath, recalling the lessons his grandfather had left in memory and the stories of human resilience. He focused not on being the strongest, but on being the cleverest. With precise timing and daring movements, he navigated the shifting platforms, dodged the lasers, and landed the hovercraft perfectly at the end. A moment of silence followed, broken by a low hum of astonishment from Vorkan. "Interesting," he murmured. "Very interesting." The alien trainer's 6 eyes regarded Jalen differently now. Not as a naive human boy, but as a potential equal. Over the next few days, Jalen's progress accelerated. He studied old combat manuals, practiced late into the night, and even began experimenting with minor modifications to his training equipment. Word spread among the trainees that a human boy was performing maneuvers previously thought impossible. Some aliens were skeptical, others curious, but all began to watch him closely. Despite the growing attention, Jalen remained humble. He knew he had only begun to prove himself, and the real test would come when he faced the Academy's final trials, designed to simulate real combat scenarios against the galaxy's most skilled warriors. But for now, the spark had been ignited. One evening, as the twin suns of Zyphera set, casting long, golden shadows over the floating platforms, Jalen sat quietly on a ledge overlooking the training grounds. He thought of his grandfather and the stories he had been told as a child. The tales of strategy, courage, and the clever use of limited resources to overcome impossible odds. He knew that to truly honor that legacy, he could not rely on memory alone. He had to create his own path, one step at a time. Vorkan appeared silently beside him, a rare moment of unannounced presence. "You have potential," the alien said quietly, "but potential is not enough. The galaxy does not reward dreams, it rewards action, skill, and courage. Jalen nodded, feeling the weight of the challenge ahead. "I understand," he said. "I will not fail. I will show that humans are more than what anyone expects." Vorkan studied him for a long moment. Then, without a word, he turned and walked away, leaving Jalen to watch the horizon as the suns dipped below the floating horizon. In that quiet moment, Jalen felt a sense of purpose stronger than any fear, stronger than any doubt. He knew the path ahead would be dangerous, filled with trials that could crush him. But he also knew that humans had a way of surviving, of turning disadvantage into advantage, of thriving when all odds seemed against them. And in the heart of that determination, a spark of legacy burned brightly, a spark that promised that the galaxy would remember the name of Jalen, and perhaps, one day, the name of his grandfather too. The journey had begun. The morning sun rose over the floating platforms of the SciFi Academy, casting long shadows across the metallic training grounds. Jalen stretched his arms, feeling a mixture of excitement and tension coil in his chest. The events of the previous days had left him exhausted but also hungry for more. He had proven his skill on the obstacle course, had captured the curiosity of the alien trainers, and had earned a hint of respect from Vorkan, the most intimidating instructor at the academy. But deep down, he knew that raw talent and bravery alone would not be enough. If he wanted to truly match the legacy of his grandfather, he needed an edge, something that would make his ingenuity shine. He had heard rumors in the cantina the night before, stories whispered among trainees about a human mechanic who had once helped an entire squad of human soldiers outperform alien technology in Imperial trials. Her name was Leora, and her skills were said to be almost magical. Machines that should have been obsolete ran as if new under her hands. Drones that faltered in battle moved with new life after her modifications. Many believed she had vanished after her last assignment, but some claimed she lived quietly in the industrial sectors of SciFi's floating rings. Jalen knew what he had to do. If anyone could help him turn potential into true power, it was Leora. He left the training grounds early, avoiding Vorkan's watchful eyes, and made his way through the dense network of platforms, suspension cables, and hover bridges that led to the industrial ring. The area was a maze of workshops, neon signs, and the constant hum of machinery. Flying vehicles zipped past, some carrying goods, others carrying people rushing to their destinations. The air smelled of ozone, oil, and heated metal, a scent that was strangely comforting to Jalen. He found her workshop tucked away in a corner, a squat building surrounded by piles of machinery and hovering drones in various states of repair. The door slid open with a hiss as he approached, revealing Leora, a small but wiry human with sharp eyes and nimble fingers. She was bent over a half-disassembled hover engine, tools flying across her workbench with precision that seemed almost impossible. "You're human," she said without looking up, her voice sharp but not unkind. "I don't get many visitors here who are still breathing long enough to ask for help." Jalen straightened, determined. "Yes. My name is Jalen. I need your help. I want to compete in the Academy's trials, and I want to prove that humans can match any alien warrior." Leora finally looked up, studying him with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. "Most humans come here thinking courage is enough," she said, her eyes narrowing. "But courage alone won't survive the Academy. You have to be smarter, faster, and cleverer than anything they expect. Can you do that?" Jalen's voice was steady. "I can. I want to." For a long moment, she studied him in silence. Then, with a sigh, she waved a hand. "Fine, I'll help you. But don't expect miracles overnight. Machines and skill are nothing without strategy. I'll teach you how to make them work for you." For the next several days, Jalen worked tirelessly in Leora's workshop. He learned to modify his standard hovercraft, incorporating energy boosters that allowed sharper maneuvers, adaptive shields that could absorb minor impacts, and reaction-enhancing modules that improved response times. Leora pushed him hard, often leaving him soaked in sweat and smudged with oil. But she never allowed him to give up. "You see?" Leora explained as she tightened a panel over the hovercraft's main console. Humans survive because we think differently. When an alien sees a problem, they often apply brute force or sheer skill. But humans? We improvise. We adapt. We turn disadvantages into advantages. Your grandfather knew this. Now it's your turn. Jalen listened intently, absorbing every word. He began to understand the essence of human ingenuity. Not just following a pattern, but creating new solutions in the moment. It was a lesson that no simulation or obstacle course could teach. It was something deeper, something instinctual, that connected him to his grandfather's legacy. Finally, the modifications were complete. The hovercraft looked ordinary to the untrained eye, but Jalen knew it had been transformed. Every panel, every circuit, every small adjustment had been carefully designed to amplify his skill, to make him unpredictable in ways no alien could anticipate. The following day, he returned to the academy, the hovercraft gleaming under the twin suns. Alien trainees snickered when they saw the modest design, assuming it to be nothing special. But when Jalen activated the boosters, navigated the energy barriers, and executed maneuvers that seemed to defy the laws of physics, their expressions changed. Some were stunned. Others whispered to each other, recognizing a level of creativity they had never witnessed before. Vorkan watched silently from his usual position, his multi-limbed form still as imposing as ever. His 6 eyes tracked every movement, analyzing, calculating, noting the human's unconventional approaches. When Jalen completed the obstacle course, sliding under a rotating energy barrier with a tilt that no alien would have dared attempt, Vorkan's eyes glimmered with something approaching approval. "Interesting," he muttered, his voice low but audible across the hall. "He is not merely brave. He is clever. That is what makes him dangerous." Jalen's confidence grew with each success, but so did the challenges. The academy introduced him to advanced combat simulators, holographic battlefields that mimicked real interstellar war scenarios. His opponents were elite alien trainees, some trained in zero-gravity combat, others adept at energy manipulation and telekinetic attacks. Each session pushed him to the limits, testing his reflexes, strategic thinking, and endurance. Whenever he faced an impossible situation, he remembered Leora's lessons. If a laser grid blocked his path, he would improvise a deflection using nearby energy panels. If an opponent anticipated a direct attack, he would feint, exploiting assumptions and turning them against the enemy. Slowly, he was mastering a skill that aliens rarely possessed: the ability to adapt and innovate in real time. The more he trained, the more whispers followed him. Trainees began to watch his techniques, some mocking at first, but many eventually fascinated. Even alien instructors approached, curious to see how a human could navigate obstacles they had designed to be unbeatable. Jalen never sought attention. His focus remained on improvement, on learning, and on proving that humans were more than their size or strength might suggest. One evening, as Jalen rested in a quiet corner of the training hall, exhausted but exhilarated, he felt a presence beside him. Vorkan stood silently, 6 eyes reflecting the soft glow of the simulation panels. "You have progressed," the alien said, his voice calm but filled with authority. "But skill alone will not suffice. You will soon face trials that test not only your talent, but your courage, your decision-making, and your resolve. The final assessment is unforgiving. One mistake, and even your cleverness may not save you." Jalen nodded, determination firm in his chest. "I understand. I will not fail." Vorkan's gaze softened just slightly, an almost imperceptible sign of acknowledgement. "See that you do not. Your grandfather's legacy may open doors, but it is your actions that will decide your fate." The days turned into weeks. Jalen continued working with Leora whenever possible, fine-tuning his hovercraft and learning to exploit its strengths in increasingly complex scenarios. She introduced him to subtle engineering tricks, reconfiguring energy flows for maximum efficiency, using minor mechanical quirks to create unexpected advantages, and even hacking the Academy's own simulations to understand potential outcomes. Every lesson reinforced the principle she had taught him from the beginning. Humans were masters of ingenuity. As Jalen's reputation grew, so did the pressure. Some aliens became hostile, attempting to sabotage his progress or challenge him unfairly during training exercises. But Jalen had learned to remain calm under pressure, to analyze every situation quickly, and to find solutions that turned adversity into opportunity. He was no longer the arrogant, reckless teen who had shouted about his grandfather's exploits. He was a strategist, an innovator, and a competitor whose skill could not be dismissed. One day, a group of alien trainees cornered him during a break, mocking him openly. "Your tricks won't save you in real combat," one sneered, his 6 limbs gesturing wildly. "You're only lucky because no one expects a human to be clever." Jalen's eyes narrowed, but he did not reply immediately. Instead, he calmly reached into his bag and brought out a small, seemingly ordinary device he had modified under Leora's guidance. With a few swift adjustments, the device emitted a field that temporarily disrupted the energy shields of nearby equipment, causing their advanced training tools to malfunction. The aliens stumbled, surprised and frustrated, while Jalen simply smiled. "Cleverness is never luck," he said quietly, returning the device to his bag. "It's preparation, observation, and adaptation. You'll see." Even Vorkin, who had been observing from a distance, allowed a faint hint of satisfaction to show in his expression. The human was proving something remarkable. That determination and ingenuity could rival even the most physically imposing aliens. By the end of the week, Jalen was exhausted but invigorated. He had transformed from a boy trying to live up to his grandfather's legacy into a trainee capable of carving his own path. And he knew that the next phase of his journey, the true test of skill, courage, and human resilience, was approaching. The galaxy might underestimate humans, but Jalen had learned that underestimation was a weapon if wielded correctly. He looked out over the floating platforms as the twin suns of Zyphera set, the sky painted in shades of gold and violet. Leora's words echoed in his mind, a mantra that had guided him through each challenge. Humans survive. Humans adapt. Humans innovate. His grandfather's spirit seemed to whisper from somewhere distant, encouraging him to press on. And Jalen knew, without a doubt, that the best was yet to come. The morning of the Academy's major trials arrived with an energy that crackled through the air like static. Floating platforms, each gleaming under Zyphera's twin suns, shimmered as if anticipating the spectacle to come. Trainees from every corner of the galaxy had gathered, their uniforms and equipment marking them as the best of the best. Humans were still rare here, and Jalen felt the eyes of countless aliens on him. Some watched with curiosity, others with thinly veiled hostility. He had proven himself in smaller exercises, but today would be different. Today, the stakes were higher, and failure meant humiliation not just for him, but for the legacy he carried. He stepped onto the observation deck to watch the setup. The trials were an intricate series of challenges designed to simulate real battlefield conditions. Sections shifted unpredictably. Obstacles rotated with mechanical precision, and energy barriers appeared and disappeared without warning. Some zones even simulated low-gravity combat, where only precise control and quick thinking could prevent disaster. Jalen's pulse quickened, but he felt no fear. Instead, he felt the familiar surge of determination that had carried him through every previous challenge. Leora appeared at his side, arms crossed, a faint smile on her face. "Remember, the Academy doesn't reward size or strength. It rewards creativity. Think ahead, improvise, and use what you have. Trust your instincts, and trust your machines." Jalen nodded, adjusting the controls on his hovercraft. The modifications Leora had helped him install hummed softly, almost as if they were alive, ready to respond to his commands. He mounted the vehicle, checking every panel, every booster, every shield. Then, with a deep breath, he launched into the first section of the trials. The initial obstacles were deceptively simple energy barriers, spinning mechanical arms, and unstable platforms. Many alien trainees rushed forward with brute force, relying on strength and reflexes alone. Jalen, however, paused briefly at each challenge, observing the timing, the patterns, and the mechanics. Then, with calculated precision, he maneuvered through the hazards in ways that no one expected, sliding under a spinning arm, using an energy booster to leap between shifting platforms, and employing a minor shield deflection to bypass a dangerous energy surge. He moved with a fluidity that seemed almost impossible for a human. By the time he reached the midsection of the course, the trials had escalated. The platforms began shifting unpredictably. Sections rotated on multiple axes, and holographic enemies simulated complex tactics. One alien trainee, a four-limbed creature with sharp claws, attempted to cut him off, expecting to corner him. But Jalen had anticipated this. He activated a temporary booster, pivoting his hovercraft in a narrow, sharp arc that sent him behind his opponent. The alien faltered, surprised by the human's clever maneuver. Vorkan watched from his observation station, his 6 eyes tracking every movement. A low hum of approval escaped him, barely audible but unmistakable. "Impressive," he muttered. Not merely brave, truly inventive. The challenges continued to escalate. In one section, a holographic enemy squad blocked a narrow corridor, each equipped with energy shields that made a direct confrontation impossible. Most trainees hesitated or attempted brute force, often triggering the traps set throughout the corridor. Jalen, however, examined the patterns of the energy shields and the timing of the traps. He found a small maintenance hatch along the wall, one that the aliens had ignored, assuming it too small to pass a fully equipped human. With a careful adjustment of his hovercraft's size modulators, he compressed the craft just enough to slide through the hatch, bypassing the entire squad and emerging on the other side unscathed. Some aliens muttered in disbelief. "How?" one hissed, shaking his head. "He's human. This is impossible." But it was not impossible. It was human ingenuity in action. The kind of thinking that relied on observation, creativity, and adaptability rather than raw power. Jalen smiled faintly as he navigated the next section, knowing that every step reinforced his belief that humans could achieve greatness, even in a galaxy dominated by alien strength. As he progressed, the Academy introduced a new challenge: sabotage. Certain sections of the course had hidden mechanisms designed to test how trainees reacted when their equipment was compromised. For Jalen, this was both a threat and an opportunity. Just as he approached a series of rotating platforms, a rival trainee, one who had openly mocked him in previous exercises, activated a hidden switch, destabilizing Jalen's hovercraft mid-air. The craft wobbled dangerously, and most humans would have panicked. But Jalen's training with Leora had prepared him for moments like this. He quickly analyzed the situation, using the craft's adaptive boosters and minor thrusters to stabilize mid-flight. Instead of panicking, he exploited the wobble to gain additional momentum, slingshotting himself onto the next platform with perfect timing. The rival's sabotage had backfired, highlighting Jalen's ability to turn disadvantage into advantage. Vorkan's eyes narrowed slightly, a sign that he was impressed. "He learns faster than I anticipated," the alien murmured. Perhaps humans are not to be underestimated. The final section of the trials approached, a complex battlefield simulation that combined all previous challenges into a single, continuous scenario. Trainees faced shifting platforms, holographic enemies, and unexpected hazards that demanded quick thinking and split-second decisions. Jalen's heart raced, but he felt calm. He had learned to trust his instincts, to adapt, and to think creatively under pressure. As he entered the simulation, he noticed that some alien trainees were already struggling. Many relied on predictable strategies, falling into traps or colliding with obstacles. Jalen, however, observed everything before acting. He used minor modifications to his hovercraft to create unexpected maneuvers, leveraging both speed and agility to outpace holographic enemies. When a laser grid suddenly appeared in his path, he deployed a temporary shield deflection, bouncing the beams harmlessly away while maintaining momentum. In the midst of the simulation, a sudden challenge emerged. A holographic enemy ambush designed to test strategic thinking under extreme pressure. 3 alien trainees moved in to cut him off, expecting to trap him in a narrow corridor. Jalen quickly assessed the situation. Noting the positions of the enemies, the layout of the corridor, and the timing of the shifting platforms above. Using a combination of lateral movement, energy boosters, and a small electromagnetic pulse device Leora had installed, he disrupted the enemy's shields long enough to slip past them. By the time he emerged from the ambush, the final obstacle awaited. A narrow platform hovering over a simulated abyss, with energy barriers oscillating in unpredictable patterns. Most trainees hesitated, some failing outright, their hovercrafts tipping dangerously before being safely retrieved. Jalen, however, approached methodically. He observed the rhythm of the barriers, calculated the timing of his boosters, and executed a series of precise maneuvers that carried him across safely. The audience, including Vorkan and several alien instructors, watched in silence for a moment, stunned by the human's performance. When Jalen landed the hovercraft on solid ground, a murmur of astonishment swept through the hall. Some aliens who had mocked him earlier now stared with admiration, realizing that humans could not only compete, but excel in ways they had never expected. Vorkan's 6 eyes focused intently on Jalen. For the first time, there was a faint smile on his stern face. "The boy has proven himself," he said quietly, "not through strength alone, but through intelligence, adaptability, and courage. Perhaps humans truly deserve a place among the finest." Jalen's chest swelled with pride, but he remained humble. He knew that the trials were just one step in a much larger journey, that real battles were not simulations, and that proving oneself in the academy was only the beginning. Yet, in that moment, he felt the weight of his grandfather's legacy merge with his own accomplishments. The stories of past human ingenuity were no longer distant memories, they lived in him, embodied in every decision he had made during the trials. As the academy officials began tallying results, a few of the rival trainees approached him cautiously. "We underestimated you," one admitted, a hint of respect in his voice. "Your human tricks, they work." Jalen nodded politely. "It's not tricks," he said. "It's thinking differently, adapting, and never giving up. That's what humans do." Later, in a private briefing, Vorkan addressed him. "You have shown that humans possess qualities beyond what most aliens understand. Your performance today was exemplary. But remember, the galaxy will not always be fair. There will be challenges, tests, and enemies that do not follow rules. You must continue to innovate, to adapt, and to think ahead. Only then will you honor your grandfather's legacy and surpass it." Jalen listened intently, absorbing every word. The approval of Vorkan, a being who had intimidated him from the very beginning, was validation that he had taken the first steps toward greatness. He knew the journey ahead would be filled with trials, both expected and unforeseen, but he also knew that he had the tools, the training, and the mindset to face them. As he left the briefing room, he felt a mixture of exhaustion and exhilaration. The trials had pushed him to his limits, yet he had emerged stronger, smarter, and more confident. Leora's lessons had proven invaluable, and the modifications to his hovercraft had allowed him to showcase human ingenuity in ways that even the alien instructors could not ignore. Looking out over the academy grounds as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of violet and gold, Jalen felt a deep sense of purpose. He had begun to carve his own path, one that honored the memory of his grandfather while demonstrating the unique strengths of humans. The galaxy might underestimate him, but he had learned how to turn underestimation into an advantage. And in that moment, Jalen knew that the final trials, the true test of human ingenuity, courage, and resilience, were approaching. He would face them head-on, ready to prove that humans were not just survivors, but masters of adaptation, capable of triumphing in a galaxy that often underestimated them. The journey was far from over, but Jalen had taken a decisive step forward. He had faced challenges that would have defeated many, but through observation, creativity, and determination, he had emerged victorious. And with each passing day, he felt the spark of legacy grow stronger within him. a fire that would guide him through whatever trials lay ahead. The Academy had witnessed the rise of a human who would not be dismissed, a human who could turn adversity into advantage, and a human who had begun to redefine what it meant to survive and thrive in the galaxy. The day of the ultimate assessment arrived, and the entire Academy seemed to hum with tension. Floating platforms stretched endlessly over the violet-tinged sky of Zyphora, and energy fields pulsed rhythmically across the grounds. Trainees from across the galaxy had gathered to witness the culmination of months of rigorous training. This final trial was unlike any other. It would simulate a full-scale interstellar battle, combining all previous obstacles, complex strategic scenarios, and live holographic enemies programmed to mimic the galaxy's deadliest warriors. Success would prove a trainee worthy of joining the Emperor's elite ranks. Failure would mean the end of the journey. Jalen stood at the starting platform, gripping the controls of his hovercraft with steady hands. His customized modifications hummed softly, each adjustment perfect, each module ready to respond instantly. Leora, standing nearby, gave him a small nod of reassurance. "Remember," she said, "trust your instincts, use what you have, and think like a human. Adapt, improvise, and never stop." He nodded, feeling the familiar surge of determination that had guided him through every challenge so far. Jalen's heart raced with anticipation, but he also felt calm. He had learned to turn every disadvantage into an advantage. The galaxy might underestimate him, but he had the skills, ingenuity, and courage to prove otherwise. The trial began. Platforms shifted violently under his hovercraft. Energy barriers erupted unpredictably, and simulated enemy squads emerged from hidden portals. Most alien trainees reacted with brute force, relying on their strength and multiple limbs to navigate the chaos. Jalen, however, paused briefly to assess each situation, noting patterns, timing, and potential weak points. With a precise combination of lateral maneuvers, boosters, and shield deflections, he avoided hazards while conserving energy and maintaining momentum. The first section tested speed and agility. Spinning mechanical arms, laser grids, and rotating platforms challenged even the most experienced trainees. Jalen moved carefully, tilting his hovercraft to slip under obstacles that others attempted to leap over, using energy boosters to pivot at impossible angles, and finding paths that seemed invisible to everyone else. Some aliens glanced at him with disbelief. A few whispered to each other, "He's human." "How?" Vorkan, observing silently from his station, allowed a faint hum of approval. "He moves differently," the alien muttered. "Clever and unpredictable. That is what makes him dangerous." Next came the tactical simulation. Holographic squads appeared, mimicking real interstellar combat units, complete with energy shields, projectile weapons, and unpredictable strategies. Many aliens attempted direct attacks, expecting to overpower Jalen. He anticipated their moves, feinting, weaving, and using minor energy pulses from his modified hovercraft to disrupt their formations. He never fought them head-on. Instead, he outsmarted them, turning each action into an opportunity. In the middle of the simulation, a sudden ambush tested the trainee's ability to respond under extreme pressure. 3 highly trained aliens blocked his path, while a 4th activated a series of traps designed to destabilize any hovercraft. Jalen's mind raced. Instead of panicking, he observed the sequence of the traps, the positions of the enemies, and the trajectory of each energy pulse. With a subtle tilt, a quick boost, and a carefully timed shield burst, he sent his hovercraft sliding past the obstacles, while simultaneously triggering a minor malfunction in the enemy's shields. They stumbled, giving him a clear path forward. The audience watched in stunned silence. Even the most skeptical aliens could not deny the human's ability to adapt and innovate under pressure. Jalen's combination of observation, quick thinking, and mechanical ingenuity set him apart. The final stage approached. A massive battlefield simulation combining all previous elements into one continuous test. Platforms moved in multiple axes, energy barriers flared without warning, and holographic enemies coordinated attacks in increasingly complex patterns. A group of alien trainees who had doubted him earlier tried to block his advance, setting up obstacles meant to trap him. Most humans would have been overwhelmed. Most aliens relied on strength. Jalen relied on his mind. He used his hovercraft's adaptive boosters to shift between rotating platforms, timing each movement with precision. Energy pulses were deflected using small, clever adjustments to his shield, a technique Leora had perfected for him. He noticed a narrow maintenance shaft on one platform, overlooked by his opponents, and squeezed the hovercraft through, emerging on the other side completely unscathed. Each step required split-second decisions, and each decision was executed with confidence. Midway through the final battlefield, a complex mechanical trap threatened to tip his hovercraft into the abyss below. The platform wobbled violently, and a small error could have ended his trial instantly. But Jalen remained calm. He adjusted his hovercraft's thrusters, exploiting the wobble to generate additional momentum. With a calculated jump, he landed safely on the next platform, leaving his competitors struggling behind him. As he progressed, the holographic enemies became more aggressive. One squad activated a simulated energy net, designed to capture and immobilize him. Jalen scanned his surroundings and found a nearby energy panel. With a subtle tweak to his hovercraft's emitters, he redirected the net's energy pulse back toward the squad, disrupting their formation. The enemies staggered while Jalen glided past, a perfect example of turning adversity into opportunity. Vorkan's eyes widened slightly. "The boy is more than capable," he murmured. "He understands that the universe favors those who adapt." The final confrontation was a simulated ambush, where the most complex enemy patterns combined. Aliens with multiple limbs and advanced weapons tried to predict his every move. Jalen relied on everything he had learned: observation, rapid calculation, and creative application of his hovercraft's modifications. He feinted left, shifted right, and used a small electromagnetic pulse to temporarily disable the enemy's shields. Timing each maneuver with split-second precision, he neutralized the threat and advanced toward the final goal. Finally, a massive platform floated ahead, its surface unstable and lined with pulsating energy barriers. Crossing it required exact timing, perfect balance, and quick adaptation. Jalen paused briefly, observing the rhythm of the barriers. Then, with a combination of lateral movement, booster propulsion, and slight tilt adjustments, he navigated the entire platform flawlessly. He landed safely on solid ground as the simulation ended. Silence fell across the arena, followed by a low murmur that grew into applause. Trainees and instructors alike stared in awe. Jalen, breathing heavily but exhilarated, had completed the ultimate assessment in a way no human had before. His cleverness, adaptability, and courage had carried him through challenges designed to overwhelm even the most powerful alien warriors. Vorkan approached him, a rare expression of approval in his 6 eyes. "You have proven yourself beyond expectations," the alien said. "Your grandfather would be proud. And more importantly, you have proven that humans are not to be underestimated. Your ingenuity, courage, and determination have set a new standard." Jalen felt a swell of pride but remained humble. "I could not have done it without Leora's guidance and my grandfather's lessons," he said. "I just wanted to show that humans can adapt and overcome, no matter the odds." The alien trainer nodded. "Adaptation and cleverness are humanity's greatest strengths. You have shown the galaxy what that means." After the trial, the Academy officials convened to announce the results. Jalen's performance was unmatched. He was selected as a trainee worthy of serving among the Emperor's elite ranks, a remarkable achievement for a human in a galaxy dominated by alien strength and numbers. Many trainees who had doubted him approached cautiously, offering words of respect and, in some cases, friendship. Even those who had tried to sabotage him could not deny his ability to overcome obstacles through creativity and perseverance. That evening, as the suns of Zyphera set and painted the sky in shades of violet and gold, Jalen stood on a high platform overlooking the Academy grounds. Leora joined him, her face glowing with pride. "You did it," she said simply. "You've shown them all what humans can do." Jalen smiled, feeling the weight of his grandfather's legacy merge with his own achievements. "This is just the beginning," he said. "I've proven myself here, but the galaxy is vast. There will always be new challenges, new enemies, and new problems to solve. Humans can't be underestimated anywhere we go." Leora placed a hand on his shoulder. "And you'll be ready. Remember what you've learned. Adapt, think creatively, and never rely solely on strength. That is what makes humans remarkable." Vorkan appeared nearby, watching silently as the young human looked out over the horizon. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then, in a rare gesture, he placed a massive hand on Jalen's shoulder. "You carry the legacy of your grandfather," he said, "and now, you carry it forward. Humans will not be overlooked again. At least not as long as you are willing to fight and think." Jalen felt a deep sense of pride and purpose. He had begun as a boy boasting of a grandfather's achievements, humiliated and underestimated by the galaxy's elite. Now, he had proven himself, not just as the descendant of a great trainer, but as a remarkable human capable of ingenuity, courage, and leadership. He had turned every disadvantage into opportunity, every challenge into a chance to excel. As the stars began to shimmer above Zyphera, reflecting in the floating platforms below, Jalen knew that his journey was far from over. He would face greater trials, traverse distant worlds, and encounter enemies unlike any he had imagined. But he also knew that humans, with their adaptability, creativity, and relentless determination, could triumph in ways that no alien could predict. And in that moment, Jalen realized the full truth of what he had always believed. Humans were not just survivors in the galaxy. They were innovators, problem solvers, and fighters who could rise to any challenge. He had honored his grandfather's legacy and begun forging his own, a legacy that would inspire generations of humans to come. The journey ahead would be long and dangerous, but Jalen was ready. The galaxy had finally begun to recognize the power of human ingenuity. And for Jalen, the sky was no longer the limit, it was only the beginning.